This is a for Expedition, and if you're familiar with, they don't make them custom like this anymore. In fact, they only did it for a short time that I know of. Hey y'all, this is TCA Gaming, and in this video we are going to go over some of the consignments that I have in. All of these are being auctioned through my eBay. Most of them are active now, and if you're interested in ever seeing what the prices go for, or if you're interested in buying them yourself, you can always check out the link in my description for my eBay store. It's good to follow there. I've got a lot of stuff that comes up and down the pipeline, from anything from English to Japanese to modern, sealed, all kinds of stuff. But anyways, we're going to go through that stuff, and then at the very end of the video, I'm going to go over Expedition and why it's one of my favorite sets, if not my favorite set of all time. And I'm also going to show you guys something in my personal collection that is fairly unique. It's definitely something that other people may have, but not many of them have ever showed up for sale. And then we'll go into some of the history of the set as well. All right, so first off, I'm going to start off with something that I bought. Got this one off of, I believe, yeah, it was PWCC. We have another Lucky Stadium. It's one of those cards that I'm going to continue to buy into. You've got a Charizard that's being ridden by both a Pikachu and a Pichu, but this is one that was exclusive to the United States of America, and that's why this one is probably one of the, in fact, it is probably the most expensive Wizards of the Coast Black Star promo, aside from the grade. So like if you found it raw, typically this card is going to be much higher than any other Wizards of the Coast Black Star promo. And then once it's graded in a 10, it does go up quite a bit. I paid around $1,500 or so for mine, but there are others that are harder to grade in a 10, so they're not always going, this one isn't going to outweigh all of the other cards in that specific grade. Next up, we have this consignment in. These are no rarity symbol Japanese base set hollows, and all that means is there's no black star down here in the bottom right hand corner. If you have a regular rare that's not holographic, or uncommon or common, it's going to be the same kind of deal. There are some variations of the cards where they could have come from the quick starter gift set, and those are not as rare. But these, all of the hollows, if they don't have that rarity symbol right there in the bottom right hand corner, they are much harder to find than the regular hollows. And you can see those right there. And then this one is CGC, so we had a duplicate of the Clefairy. And for those of you who have been around since my base first edition box opening, I have since stopped saying Clefairy, and now I'm saying Clefairy. I think that was the most, between that and people telling me not to cut towards my body with a knife, those were probably the two most commented things on that video. All right, next up we have an Entei. This is first edition Neo Rev. These are super hard to grade into 10, so typically if you can get them in a high grade like this, it's going to be much more affordable than trying to pull off the 10. Got the Gengar again. It has that, I don't know if you guys can see it, it's reflecting my face, but you've got the graveyard there on the in the background of the hollow, which is not on the English version. There's a Suicune and a 9. Now we have some SGC cards. We have the alternate art Charizard. It'll be interesting to see how this holds up against a PSA 10. I'm not even sure where they're at right now. I believe I'd watched Top 10 Pokemon, and he'd put some up for maybe 400 or maybe a 600. I think it was 400 in that range. So they have definitely come down a good little bit. The raw cards are bringing, from what I saw, still over $100. There's a nice one. Got the Radiant Charizard, Radiant Venusaur, another Sabrina's Gengar. We've got another consignment. And make sure this thing doesn't slip out of my hands. Have an Articuno EX and Fire Red Leaf Green. Got the Shatter Foil going on there. Ash's Pikachu GX. Got Celebrations Blastoise. Got the Reverse Hollow Dark Houndoom. Again, shadowless, very tough to get in a 10. So if you're trying to grade or buy these in graded condition, mint 9, you're probably gonna get a lot of bang for your buck there. Got the Not Awake Jinx. Got the Mew from Celebrations. Got the Mew from Southern Islands. Beautiful artwork. Moltres EX. There's the Collabo Pikachu. I can't remember that girl's name, but it is in the title of the listing. Here we have got the Rayquaza VMAX. Now we've got a little bit of Metazoo. I believe all of these are Cryptid Nation 2nd edition. And except for this one right here, this one, where's it at? Yeah, there's the Blister Pack promo, which again is Cryptid Nation 2nd edition. There's Rudy, Totally Not a Timmy. That's funny. Sam Sinclair, got stars, and then there's a couple lots. I believe there's the Leafeon VMAX and the Glaceon VMAX in that one. And I do have a few other things that I bought as well. I'm going to show you guys. So this is actually a trade. So I got in this Hitmonchan, and it's base 1999-2000. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. I think I focused the zoom so that it would stay focused on about this distance far away. But basically the dates down here have 1999-2000, in which for the base set unlimited, or just base set in general, on the English side, these are pretty tough to come by. And I'm still missing several for my PSA 10 set. And then there was somebody who was missing the 1999-2000 Lapras and Zapdos in PSA 10 for their Fossil 1999-2000 set. That's what's going on down here in the bottom right hand of this corner. So I traded my PSA 10 Lapras and Zapdos in from Fossil 1999-2000 for his Hitmonchan, and then an extra copy of a Lapras and a Zapdos. So it does break up my second Fossil 1999-2000 set, which only come from the Fossil Australian box release, which had red logos. From what we know, it was to prevent counterfeiting, but you also saw the red logos on the Jungle Unlimited booster box. However, those cards didn't have any like text difference. There was a little bit of difference in the stock. Same thing with base and Fossil. You could tell a difference in the stock, but with base and Fossil, received the 1999-2000 copyrights. But with base, you could actually not only get it from Australia, but from the United Kingdom, Poland, and a few other places. It was mostly a European and Australian type release. But anyways, I traded for those. So the Hitmonchan is coming off of my list. I still need some 1999-2000 holos, but it was nice to trade them. I bought this one off of eBay. This is an Ashen Charizard. It's the number 35. I've been looking for this one for quite a while. As soon as I bought this one in the buy now, it was like 280 bucks. The dude popped up another one. Usually that's the way it works. And then last, I got this along with several other Alpha Magic the Gathering cards in auction for really cheap. But this is the main card that I'd won. It was almost a month ago now. It took them a while to get this one shipped out, but registered mail has a tendency to do that. And it took them about 2 weeks to drop it off at the post office after they printed the label. So I'm not sure what happened there, but I got a decent deal on this one. I think it was about 80% of the PSA 9 value. So I figured that was about right. And usually CGC is pretty good with the higher grades, especially on the higher end cards. And looking over this one, honestly, it looks very clean. The back edges and corners, they looked really nice. It was a little off center. I think that's what actually docked it. You can see down here it has that 8.5. It does have 9 on the surface edges and then 9.5 on the corners. I want to say that there was a small print line over here, so I think this would get a 9 just about anywhere it went. So it's probably just about as maxed out as it's going to get. All right, so guys, that's it for the consignments and for my purchases. So now I'm going to go into Expedition, just talk about it a little bit. And before I get into it, I want to say that I don't think I've really ever credited Bulbapedia, or if I have, I don't do it enough. But Bulbapedia is a great resource for information, and I use them, or I used to use them quite often just to look up stuff. They have pictures, they have links, they have all kinds of stuff. So if you ever want to find out some information on sets and release dates and all that kind of stuff, Bulbapedia is a great place to look. And I imagine a lot of the information that I'm going to give you here, at one point or another, I read on their page. I can't say for sure, you know, where I picked up some of this information. Some of it I'm going to be just talking straight off the fly, but I imagine some of it comes from them. So without further ado, before I get into the information on it, I want to show you guys the item I'm talking about, because you guys have waited long enough if you've made it this far. So this is a blister box. I thought I had my camera adjusted up high enough, but maybe not. This is a blister box for Expedition. And if you're familiar with blister boxes, they don't make them custom like this anymore. In fact, they only did it for a short time that I know of. Even into Diamond and Pearl, I remember buying stuff from Heels, and like with Stormfront, Supreme Victors, they had those forever. For days they had those blister boxes. Nobody wanted them. And they were just brown boxes, you know. So they didn't customize them like this for too long. I know that I've seen some for Legendary Collection and Aquapolis as well. But you get 24 blister packs in here. You can see you got all 24. They're going to be Expedition. And then you'll have the booster packs. You can kind of see them in there just hiding away. But these are untouched. And I imagine there is a premium to have these sealed in an original box. This is the only one that I have. I think Cool Trainer Ryan had a few of them. I don't know if it was for Expedition or Aquapolis or Legendary Collection or all three, but he always had a good knack for finding cool, unique items like this. But for this one, I'd put it up for sale for a while and pulled it back down. I had asked way too much money for it. To me, how rare this item is. As a seal collector, I like to keep it. All right, so now let's kind of talk about Expedition a little bit more. And so I believe it come out, I want to say mid to late 2002. And on the Japanese side, it was the expansion base set, or yeah, I think it was expansion base set, something like that, because it was an Expedition base set. They had first edition, they had a very limited run of Unlimited that were inserted into like magazines and stuff like that. In fact, I need the Charizard. I still need the Charizard Unlimited. But on the English side, it was only Unlimited. In fact, this was the first set that was Unlimited that wasn't a reprint set. So like base set 2 was technically the first set that did not have a first edition and Unlimited. I may have said that backwards, but so yeah, so this was the first set that had only Unlimited run that wasn't a reprint. So you had Legendary Collection right before it, which also did not have first edition, but it was a reprint set. And I'm going to show you a few cards that are not in the Expedition base set. So like this one right here, you've got this Rapidash. They introduced this thing called a dot code, and you can see some of them in the WotC promos as well. And usually if it had just one code, I think I've got a card in here, yeah. So here's a Charmeleon. This is from the Expedition base set. If it just had the bottom code like that, I think it was just data that it unlocked, but you would take the card and you would scan it through an e-reader, and then it would pop up data or information. And then if you had a second code, a lot of times you could scan that second code and might unlock a game or a little like movie melody type thing. And I think some of them even had like secret attacks. But some cards required you to scan more than one card. Like I believe in the e-sample pack that come with the e-reader, you would get a Machop, a Machoke, and Machamp. And then you would have to scan all three of those cards, if I'm remembering correctly, to unlock whatever it was supposed to unlock. With like the Rapidash, I think you might have also had to scan in the Ho-Oh. Or it was something like that, but I know the Rapidash actually unlocked a pretty cool game where you're like jumping over things and you had to get all the way down from 100, and I never actually made it myself. It wasn't that hard, but I didn't have that much time to spend on it. Also, they introduced things like this. So right here you see the multi-technical machine. This is when they first introduced the technical machines, which just basically allows you to attach this to a Pokemon, and then that Pokemon could use the attack from the card. So that was the first time we had seen that. It was also glaringly obvious. I mean, the border was different, but that was mainly for that dot code, and not every card had the dot code. So like if you look at this Alakazam, all of the holos, they just had these, it was holographic and had these little tick marks, which was a nice little touch in my opinion. There were some other things that they did. If you look at this right here, it actually says Poke Power. Up until now it was Pokemon Power, and they split it. So they split it into Poke Body and Poke Power. So with Poke Power, you actually have to activate whatever's going on. So like, what does this one say? Once during your turn, instead of Alakazam's normal attack, you may choose one of your Pokemon's attack, and Alakazam copies that attack, etc. So you had to actually activate that and say, hey, I want to use, whatever attack with my Poke Power, Psy Mimic. And then, but there were some that were always active. So Poke Bodies, like this one, all damage done by attacks to Golem is reduced by 10. So if somebody attacked Golem, you didn't have to say, all right, I activate Rock Body, and instead of doing 20 damage from a Machop attacking you with its 1 energy, and then you activate it and make it do 10 damage, it would just automatically apply to that, because there's no reason for you to have to announce that you want that to be active. Also, I really like the set for the artwork. Here's a couple of my favorite cards. This is my absolute favorite. I've told you guys that many times. I like the way the lightning comes through the background of the Mewtwo right there. And then I believe this is Mr. DNA's favorite. I like it as well. It's probably I want to say I spent more money on this card than any other card in the set. I bought it off of Gem Mint, and then I like this Blastoise as well. He's just kind of coming out of the water. Something else that they did, so in Legendary Collection, that was the set prior to Expedition. This was the set where they introduced reverse holos, and you can see right here I had this nice unique firework reverse holo foil, and it's still unique to Legendary Collection to this day. In fact, I chose this Mewtwo because I like the artwork on it, and this is one of my favorite Wizards of the Coast Black Star promos. So this was a reprint of the number 12, which was illustrated by Christopher Rush, which I typically don't do the illustrator thing. Like, that's just not something that I follow along with. But I do know that Christopher Rush illustrated this one because I bought a lot of his beta proofs off of him, but also because he illustrated the Alpha Black Lotus, or really just the Black Lotus, all the Black Lotus. All the ones that were reprinted were based off of that artwork. So it was a nice crossover. He did this Mewtwo, and he also did the Black Lotus, and I think he did a great job. Now, the reverse holo changed up. It went to this standard reverse holo that we see today on many of the sets. You know, you go from possibly one of the best reverse holo patterns ever to this. I don't know why that they made that transition, but you can see right here, this is actually 6 out of 165. Expedition was also the first set since Team Rocket. Yeah, I want to say since Team Rocket that introduced, you know, the non-holos matching the holos again. So you had the number 6, which was a holo rare, and then for every holo rare you also had a counterpart, which was going to be a non-holographic rare. And then every card had a reverse holo, so you can see this artwork 3 times within the set. And then since there were 2 Charizards, there was also the number 39. You could see that one in the rare, and then also a reverse holo again, but it wasn't, you know, the same artwork in the holo side. So there were 2 different Charizards, but only this Charizard artwork actually saw the holo. Now there was some other cool things that were going on with Expedition that I really like. So first we're going to start with this. So this is a Japanese back, but the front is actually in English. E3 had a pack where they released it was like a Kirby card, Mr. Game & Watch manhole card, and then you also had a Hapip and a Pichu, which were English on the front. They look just like the card Hapip and Pichu from the regular set. However, on the back side, you had a Japanese back. And this is actually one of the packs that I opened up more recently. I want to say a few months ago. I titled it like, "We're opening up the rarest Pokemon pack ever." That little pack was like $2,500, and I ended up grading both the Pichu and the Hapip with CGC, and they got a 9.5. But that's something exciting that they added into it. Also, here's another Japanese back card, but we're gonna have something different going on in the front here. You can see right here, it actually says sample. Now, this is not the Machop that I was talking about that come from the e-reader sample pack that come with the sealed e-reader like little piece that you put into the console and scan in the cards. This actually come from a guy who worked in a shop. They were trying to introduce the game, and they actually had, from what he said, 100 of these sample cards, 10 of each, or 100 of each sample card. And he believes that roughly half of them were destroyed, and then the other half's about 50 of each card survived from where he pulled them either out of the trash or just set them aside, didn't let people, you know, just use them and throw them away. And so these are extremely rare today. There are 10 different cards. You've got Machop, Machoke, Machamp, you got a Rapidash, you have Pichu, Hapip, Ghastly, you got Pikachu, Chansey. I don't even know how many I just named, but that's getting pretty close to all of them. And they're very sought after, but a lot of people don't really know about them either. What's cool about them is the fact that they actually say sample down here in the bottom right hand corner, and the artwork itself matches the cards from the set. And then last, what I want to talk about, we've also have 4 position only cards. I'm proud to say that I helped in the discovery with these things. A designer was basically watching these cards and packs go to a shredder, and he saved them. And then many years later, he sold them to me, and then I ended up selling them to different collectors. I kept some for myself, and basically it's just these test cards that had 4 position only written on them. There's other things going on with the cards that are different, like the bottom left hand corner says medium right there. There's some missing information in the middle of the card itself, and then on top of that, some of the cards actually have errors in them. Like there's a Charizard, which I didn't show. I think I've got all of mine in the eBay vault, but they're like missing HP or something. It's something like that. There's all kinds of different little things that are telltale signs for these being, you know, test cards, other than the fact that it says 4 position only on them. These were not officially released through packs. If they did make it out through packs, it was just by sheer accident. There's also match prints, which I don't have any pictures of those, which were like color-based animation type test proofs for the cards. They had white backs, they were square cut, the front was glossy, it was a thinner stock. It really wasn't a Pokemon card if you think about it, but it had the Pokemon card image printed on it. And there's other things about Expedition that I like personal preference. This is the color of the booster box, this orange. Like, I just really like it. There's no other booster box like that. And there is some chase to the PSA 10s as well. I realize I've rambled on even more than I thought I was going to, but like I still need this Doug Trio in a PSA 10. So if you have this in a PSA 10 on the holo side, please reach out. I'm looking for it. And I need many of the reverse holos in a PSA 10 as well. But anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed the information that I put in here about Expedition. Hopefully none of it was inaccurate, and I'm sure I missed a few other things that I wanted to talk about, but thanks for listening.